now I am nervous. I'm like, I can't miss this flight. We've been counting down. For him, I kept looking for red flags, but every time I get green flags.
She had this beautiful personality. She looked so gorgeous. You know, like the glory of God was just radiating from her. Welcome, AFARIS family.
Thank you so much for clicking today's video. If you're new here, we are the AFARIS. If you're returning, welcome back. Today we have a special video for you.
Yeah.
Oh, before we get there, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And also, if you do like the video, hit the thumbs up. So today we do have a special video. We'll be sharing with you how we met. It's highly requested. And your wish is our command. So we'll give you all the tips. So stay tuned, relax, and enjoy the rest of the video. We share both of our perspectives. I'll give mine in the time of my life where I was, and then Dan will give his side of the story. So it all started in 2015. I was maybe half a year out of high school, and it was December. We were having a church program. It was a Christmas convention. And before we went there, I had this feeling that I'm going to meet somebody special. It sounds corny, whatever. It sounds corny, cheesy, whatever you want to call it. But I truly feel like the Holy Spirit was letting me know that I was going to meet someone special. So we went to the convention, and I remember, okay, so let me just give you a backstory about our church, okay? Right. It's not very big, and this was a convention, so meaning like all people from different branches were coming together in one place. And even with that, everyone knew everybody. It wasn't a big church, okay? It wasn't like the mega huge churches that you don't even know who's sitting next to you. Right. Everybody knew everybody, right? So there was this young man that came, and immediately I think everyone noticed him because we haven't seen him before. And he immediately was singing, in front of the church, and he was playing the keyboard. Yeah. So we're wondering, who's this guy? And he looked so young. So honestly, my first impression was, maybe he's in high school. Anyway, so I just brushed it off. And another thing I need to mention is I think when you're single, and okay, I was kind of out of high school, but in a way you do wonder if if this guy is a potential, right? But anyway, but I thought he was too young, so I just brushed it off. I thought he was in high school, so he looked really young. Young boys. Anyway, so after and I was in the choir as well at that time. I just never met this guy. So we meet after church, the choir, and he's playing the keyboard, whatever. He introduces himself, and he goes like, "Yeah, I'm just here. I've been assigned to come and play for you guys for this convention." He came from Texas. And this time I'm in Arizona, okay? Grew up in Arizona. He goes to say that, yeah, he's doing his master's program in Texas. I'm like, whoa. You look like a kid. How you do your master's? He's like, oh yeah, it's just how he looks. But he's there doing his master's program, blah, blah, blah. And he was talking to everybody. Like most of my friends were in the choir. So like, it was like a group chat, like, getting to know each other. Right. Yeah. And so it ended there. Like, the convention was great. And I really noticed the man was really, for our generation, this guy was on fire for God. I could tell he was passionate about the things of God. And that really drew my attention. And all my friends saw it too. That this guy is really, like, for a young man who was really passionate about the things of God. Wow. Through his service for the church and how he carried himself and spoke about God. So could this be the one? Because at that time in my life too, I've always known that the man I'm going to marry has to not just be a Christian, but love Jesus. That was very important to me because that's where I was, and I felt that's what God wanted for me as well.
Right.
And so I was like, Lord, is this why I had that feeling earlier that I was gonna meet someone special? Anyways, we didn't even exchange contacts. It ended there. You know, convention was over. It was about 2 hours away from where I lived at the time. So everybody went home. It ended there. And then, you know how, like, back in the day, like, you know, Facebook was really on fire that time. Like, yeah. So our church would post pictures of the event. Like, we had the convention, so all the pictures went there. And yeah, I saw the guy. And then also, obviously, look for your own pictures and stuff like that.
Right.
So I like the pictures and blah, blah, blah. And then, so this was in January. So the convention was in December. In January,
of 2016.
2016 now.
Right.
Yeah, that's when the guy reached out to me on Facebook, and he's like, hey. I was like, okay, we didn't exchange contacts. How did he find me on Facebook? And he's like, oh, you know, he saw me through the church page, like the pictures, and he thought I should say hi. And I was like, oh, hi. Yeah. I was really intrigued. I was like, man, maybe this is really the one. Oh my goodness. Let me just say, it wasn't Dan.
Just to clarify, I wasn't the one.
It wasn't Dan. So this whole time, I was like, is this the one? And I was really confused because the feeling I had before the convention, I was going to meet someone special. I knew it was the Holy Spirit. And I thought maybe I was being too dramatic about it. It was just my own thoughts.
Right.
But so when he reached out to me, and I was like, oh, maybe he's the one. And then we started chatting. He's like, oh, you're really gorgeous. You're beautiful. And, you know, that's why I wanted to reach out and say hi. We actually chatted for some time, and he's like, yeah, you know, he has a girlfriend.
By that time he was dating, right?
Yeah, so he had a girlfriend. So, okay, and also a disclaimer, like, he's Ghanaian. Yeah, he has a girlfriend back in Ghana, and you know, for that reason, because, you know, the conversation where it was going, I think he was like, okay, like I
was
gotta
trying to set.
Yeah, you need to set boundaries now.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't suggest I liked him or anything, but
yeah, okay.
I guess he just knew that, yeah, he needs to let me know. But he's like, you know, I think we chatted for some time. He didn't bring it up right away.
Wasn't the first day, right?
It wasn't that first day that
okay.
He brought up that, you know, I have a friend. But he just mentioned I'm pretty and, you know, all these things. And
getting to know you.
Yeah, so we set our friendship. Yeah, I think we clicked as friends. And it was like, okay, cool. And some few days after chatting, I don't know. I think there was something that drew him to me. And I wondered, too, what it was. I think it was honestly God.
Wow.
Because out of all my friends, I don't know why he reached out to me, but I think God laid on his heart to reach out to me. So he, after some few days of chatting, tells me that he really likes me, you know, as a person. He thinks I'm really,
got a cool personality.
Right, and he likes that I'm,
godly.
A godly woman, and he sees my mannerisms, and he has a really good friend who he thinks I would, that I would really go well with. And so he makes me know that the friend is in Ghana.
Oh.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm from Kenya. I'm not even Ghanaian, for one. How is this gonna work? And I mean, you know, we're in the United States. I don't know anybody in Ghana, you know? So in my mind, I'm just trying to make it make sense. So it wasn't making any sense, right? So I was just like, even telling God, like, man, so he's not the one, he has a girlfriend, but like,
what is
Ghana, like, nah. Immediately I'm like, nah, I'm not going with that, you know? But he spoke so well of this guy. He was like, Ivy, from when I started talking to you, I don't know, I just feel like there's something about you. And, you know, he started mentioning, you know, this friend of his that he thinks will be really great together. And he kept pushing it, like not pushing it. No, let me not say. He just kept like saying really good things about you. In a way, I felt like now it makes sense that it feels like it was your John the Baptist paving the way.
He paved the way.
I'm telling you, because I was like, Ghana, what am I doing there? You know. But he really spoke highly of Dan. He said he's a very genuine guy. And I remember these words clearly. He's like, you wouldn't regret being with this guy. That's how much he had faith in, you know, you and being a good spouse for me. So he kept, you know, bringing up the idea, and I was like, okay, like it's fine, but I really just, you know, since he spoke really good things about you, I was open to a friendship. Correct. So I was like, fine, you know, if this goes anywhere, you know, I don't mind being friends with you. And so that's where it started.
Awesome.
The friend was Dan. the friend in Ghana was Dan in that time. So early 2016, we in January. So one day he suggests that we do a Skype, a video call. Actually, before that, I think he gave you my number, right? I think, okay.
No, I think it was mostly on Facebook. I think he, like you said, it was Facebook.
Yeah. So Dan is gonna give you his side of the story. Like, did he hear anything about me by this point, or did it all come by surprise?
Right. So our mutual friend, or this mutual friend, had traveled to the States, and so he had gone to this convention, met this beautiful girl. At that time, I was working night shift. So at times during my night shift, it would be morning in the States. So he would just like, you know, hey, reach out to me, like, how is it going? How is work? So yeah, we'll just catch up. And I think one of those conversations, he just brought it up to me like, hey, remember this convention that I went to? I was telling you about. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I really met this, like, you know, pretty damsel. I really met this beautiful girl, and she is godly. She's Christian. You know, from my little interaction I've had with her, and I think that you guys will be great friends. That's what he told me, and I'm like, okay. And but I think I knew the angle he was coming from. He wanted us to, like, you know, he didn't just see us as friends, but he was saying like, I think you guys are meant for each other. But I was like, okay, we can be friends. So and he told me, he warned me that, hey, this is not. Like, you know, as friends, we go way back, so we have this kind of like usually play around a lot. It was like, yeah, please don't come and mess up. This is like, you know, even though you guys should be friends, I don't want you to mess up. I'm like, come on, like, we are friends. What is this about messing up, right? So so he goes on to introduce us at that point. So he tells me very good things about Ivy as well. And yeah, so from there, I think then he organizes this three-way Skype call.
Back then it was Skype, before Zoom.
I actually feel so old right now mentioning Skype.
We were even trying to remember what app was it? It was Skype.
Yeah, Skype.
So we did a three-way call with Skype, and he was like, yeah, you gotta chat with him and see how you like him. And I was like, cool. Yeah. So we get on the call. And yeah, the quality wasn't great. It was so bad. I don't know whether to blame Skype or to blame Ghana.
Oh no, don't go there. What has Ghana done here?
I was trying to make out his face and see, like, how is he?
Who is this guy?
But I've seen his pictures on Facebook.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Pictures on Facebook.
I saw your pictures on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Those pictures do not even look good. Please, let me bring it up.
Thank God for...
I was looking so, my God. Anyway.
But anyway, I thought you were pretty cute. I thought, like, okay, he's all right. Like, he's, yeah. And when we got on the Skype, I noticed that you were very, like, calm, put yourself together. You were laughing a lot. And I don't know, I really, I liked you. I thought, like, okay, I think I like you.
Yeah, so from there, I think I also share the same sentiment as her, like, you know, in terms of me actually, like, you know, liking her personality during our first Skype call. And yeah, I mean, we had a great time chatting. And after that, I think that's when we had exchanged Facebook IDs or whatever. I don't know, maybe it was before, but yeah, from there we decided, okay, we can chat more on Facebook just to, hey, get to know each other as friends, right? Yeah, so we were chatting like from time to time. At this point, we were like in, let's say, February of 2016. I had this huge opportunity to come to study in Canada. And I hadn't told Ivy, but I told my friend because my friend knew about it. Like I told him about how I had plans of studying. You know, I applied to many schools in Canada, in the States, and yeah, fortunately, I had one very good offer in Canada, and it was like, wow, he was so excited for me, and I told him to just keep shut, like just keep quiet about it. Until it's fully cooked, right? It's big. So I told him that he should just, just keep it between us. I should help me pray about it. So I had this opportunity.
But also, now that you're mentioning that, it makes sense because he kept telling me, the friend, because every time he would bring it up, it was just like he was trying to suggest that I shouldn't shut off the fact that you're in Ghana, because I expressed to him like, he's in Ghana, how can we date? I don't know how I would go there and stuff like that. And he would say, hey, you never know, he can come here for school or somewhere nearby. He will give me hints that he may be coming soon. So he was trying to give me hints without telling me for some time that
I see.
he might be coming closer. So I shouldn't shut off the idea of like us being something more. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fast forward, I got the opportunity. This is around. So before that, we were chatting. So we had exchanged contacts as well on WhatsApp. Myself and Ivy were chatting. Like from time to time, just checking on each other. Like nothing serious, just as friends. How is your day? How are you doing?
And I must say, okay, one thing I liked about you, always reaching out to you. So what I noticed, one of the first things I noticed about him was like, no matter how many times he texted me first, he would do it over and over and over. It's not like previous, some guys would talk to is like, okay, I texted you first yesterday, so you should have texted me first today. No, it was like, he texted me first today, he'll text me like first tomorrow, he texted me first yesterday, and he would do it over and over without like make me feel like, okay, I'm always texting you first while you're not, So I really felt like he was really pursuing me. So that was something that really stood out. And I remember I wanted to say this because I had been praying to God that my husband, whoever he was gonna be, I want him to portray Christ. I want him to portray Jesus, and I saw a lot of grace coming from your end, which was new to me at that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, so it was mutual too. Let me add that it was mutual. It wasn't just me. I felt the same about her. It was very godly. We used to talk about maybe scriptures at times. It wasn't every day, but once in a while, like, what did you do? I mean, how was your day? Did you read your Bible? Here and there, those kind of chats. So fast forward, I get opportunity to come to Canada. I now tell Ivy that, hey, guess what? I've had this huge opportunity to come to Canada. That's
When
like
was
somewhere
this?
like
August
I think
July.
July.
2016.
It was July 2016, August 2016. And yeah, so I told her about it and she was like, oh wow, that's great news.
Okay, I have to say, so eventually the friend had to tell me that he's coming. I think he saw that I was kind of getting weary of the idea of him coming. I'm like, okay, unless it's on paper, like I'm not buying the story of you coming, But he eventually tells me, okay, I have to tell you that he's coming to Canada. He got a scholarship, a full ride, and he'll be coming sometime in September. Don't tell him I told you. Just know that he's coming, and it's set on stone. So I was like, okay.
So when I told her that I had gotten this,
so this was before he told me.
Yeah, so that was
I
before
already knew that he's coming. So he eventually came to tell me.
Yeah, so
himself.
she knew already about it because my friend had told her. But then, so I now later told her that, hey, I've got this opportunity, and she acts all like, hey, like a surprise.
I was like,
wow,
congratulations! But I already knew. But the friend was like, don't tell him I told you. So I think,
you're something
but
else.
I've told you. I mean, I knew now.
So I get this opportunity, and I now fast forward. I come to Canada. I come for studies in 2016 September, and so I think once I got here, we were like, okay, let's talk. I mean, we had opportunity to now talk more, right? We had my WhatsApp number. I switched it, and we're still chatting from time to time. I check up on her. And I think we now had the opportunity to now like talk more because you know we didn't have to like buy bundles. I didn't have to buy bundles like in Ghana.
Unlimited.
Yeah, you know, I have this unlimited Wi-Fi
Yeah.
and all that. So I'm now like able to like, you know, chat more with her.
We were now moving more from texting to a lot of FaceTime calling.
Yeah,
so
calling
we were
each
calling
other.
each other on, you know, FaceTime a lot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So it was like just chatting, getting to know each other better. And then what happened after that?
So we were chatting for
close to like how many months? 4 months, 5 months?
After you came?
Yeah. I think January was when I decided.
So around January.
So I think
four
by
months. This time, like, okay, we've been talking for almost like a year, like in total.
In total, from time we met in Ghana,
Canada, and I think we kind of both see where the conversations were heading. I mean, we could kind of tell that this was becoming, you know, something that we'll be interested in more than just friendship. The only thing is, this whole time we've been chatting virtually. So we hadn't seen each other in person.
Right.
And I think we both felt like, well, if we started dating and we haven't laid eyes on each other, what if, I don't know, I'm way taller than anything, or maybe shorter, I don't know, like.
Just those kind of like
we just want to be sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, why don't we meet in person before pursuing this?
I mean, taking it serious if we have to.
Yeah, taking it serious, right? Yeah. So we started making plans to meet each other. And so at the time, he was on a student visa in Canada. And I was a U.S. Permanent resident. I could come to Canada way easier than he could come to U.S. because on a student visa, to come to US, you need to apply for another visa and all that stuff. It was just gonna be complicated. And also, and then it wasn't impossible. It's possible, but then the logistics at that time, it was easier. He saw it was gonna be easier for me to go from US to Canada, and also you had your program still going on.
I was actively in school.
I mean, we're both in school, but yours was more intense.
It was a research program. So.
Right, it was a research program in summer. We were like, okay, we can plan in summer when I'm out of school. I don't have summer school at that time. We're gonna be closed, so I could come see you. The plan now was to convince my African mom that I'm going to see this guy.
I love that, my African mom.
I just need to draw the picture because it was not an easy pursuit, you know, when you think about it, that I have to convince my mom and it
makes sense, to be honest.
It makes sense, right?
Which parent will let their daughter go visit some guy they don't know, like they've never met before, like, you know.
Right. So we started having this discussion beginning of 2017 now.
Yes.
Yeah. So beginning of 2017, we started talking about it, but I hadn't told my mom yet that I'm talking to this guy. But I knew it was gonna have to happen.
Yeah.
I wasn't like the typical going to college to stay in college. I was staying home with my mom at the time. So obviously, I have to let her know if I'm traveling somewhere, right? And obviously, even if I was not living at home, I still had to tell her that I'm going, you know? So I knew she would have probably not bought into the idea, and I was really like trying to figure things out, and I made a plan. I don't think I told him. Knowing my mom, I'm like, okay, I know my mom, okay? She's probably not gonna let me go. So here's the plan I had. I was gonna buy the ticket and without, you know, telling her yet, and then after I purchased the plane ticket, then I would talk to her. And the thing I'm learning about God is how when he wants to do things, he wants to do it the right way.
Definitely,
right?
The right way.
Yeah,
that's true.
When God is in it, he wants to do it the right way. And he was showing me at that time. And I didn't know. I was naive at that time. I didn't know that, you know, this is very important to him, that, you know, I honor my parents in this way, not just
the Bible says that.
Yeah, the Bible says that you should honor your father and mother, that your days will be long. So he showed me that the approach wasn't good, but then I was being stubborn. I'm buying this ticket and I'm gonna tell her after I've purchased the plane ticket, and she will have to, let me go, because I mean, she's not gonna let me cancel $400 flight, like, right. So boo-hoo me. I went online and it said, okay, you're going on an international flight, which right. will require you at that time to get not a visa but an ETA. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know, it's not like a visa. It's more like because I wasn't a United States citizen at the time. I was a permanent resident, so I didn't have that access yet to just cross the border. I still needed some form of document to show that I'm crossing the border and to allow me to do that. So okay, I'm like, okay, ETA. Going to fill it out, and it asked me for my passport. I go look for my passport. I couldn't find it anywhere. I tore down the house. We had just moved to this new house. I looked everywhere for this passport. I was determined to get this passport, buy the ticket, then I can tell my mom. And I looked everywhere. I couldn't find this passport. I was like, oh, of course this would happen to me. Oh my goodness. So I let him know the situation that, I tried purchasing the ticket.
You can't run from God. You can't run from God's will. I mean, you can't run from what is right. God wants it to be done the right way. Exactly. And you can't run away from that. Just look at Jonah. You can't run from it.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, God says he chastens those he loves. So sometimes we look at things like, oh, this fella, but God is really trying to get us to do the right things, right? I quickly figured that this is what God is saying. I knew this is what he was saying, but I was trying to go the other way. Mm-hmm. And which is to do my way, which is purchase the ticket, and then I'll let my mom know, and then she'll have no choice but to say yes. That was what I was thinking in my head. But I knew God was saying that you need to tell your mom and then get her consent first. Get her approval. Yeah, not like me try to get approval out of her mouth,
Yeah, like force her to say yes.
Yeah, like, I need to get her genuine consent and for her to, be okay with this. And so I did. I had to go talk to my mom. And this was, I think, a number of weeks later when I couldn't find this passport. I was looking almost every day. So I went to tell her and, obviously, the reaction I knew that was coming from her was, what are you saying? I don't, she didn't know anybody in Canada.
No.
She didn't know Dan. Yeah. She had never, met him in person.
Had she spoken to me at this time?
No, I don't think. Maybe not officially.
Not officially.
Yeah. No, she hadn't. I just told her that I've been talking to this guy. In Canada, and
And then out of nowhere, you come and tell her you want to travel.
Yeah. I had to emphasize. He loves Jesus. He's born again. But even with that, she was really reluctant. She's like, in Canada, why are you the one going there and not him now coming here? Right. I had to explain the situation with the school and the visa stuff and all that. She was just really like, no. And also I had to tell her that we were going to the same church. Right. It's just in a different branch. Yeah. Right?
In Canada we had a branch, and in the States they also have different branches.
So he was going to the branch in Canada, and I was going to the branch in Arizona. And I was like, hey, if you want to talk to the leadership there, pastor, I don't know, elder, please, you can talk to them or anyone. Like, I was just trying to be open about this. I could see that she was definitely saying no, but at the same time, she didn't want to be in the way. At the same time, I was an adult, okay? I was not a teenager at the time, and she also felt like, she didn't want to be in the way of that. And if it's the will of God, she wanted it to be done. She shared this later with me, but she eventually, and I told God, like, I remember that time, I was like, Lord, if this is your will, then you will, and I prayed that you talk to her heart, you know, because there's a scripture that says that, you know, the heart of the king is in the hand of God, and you know, he turns it whichever way he pleases, right? So I knew that God can change her heart if this was his will. And so I stood on that and I prayed about that, and I just led her to the hands of God. So she came and told me, she started asking me questions. You know, African parents, they don't say it right away that, fine, you can go. She just started asking me questions. And it felt like a whole lot of questions about him.
Like an interview, huh?
It was she wanted to know where you're going. Am I gonna be able to talk to you when you're there? Who else? And like, where are you gonna stay?
Where you gonna stay? Yeah, that's very important.
That was very important to her. To let her know that I'm not staying with him in this place. We arranged for me to stay with your lady friends. At Canada when I get there, and the friend was so kind enough. Bless your heart, girl. You know, we're grateful. Okay?
Yeah. God bless you.
So she was so kind enough to let me stay stay at her place when I come to Canada. And my mom, you know, I told her she can talk to her. She can talk to whoever she wanted to. And also in Arizona at my church, you know, I let one of my leaders know, an elder and his wife. Just to also get that guidance and mentorship that, you know. And the accountability part. The accountability part. Yeah, and funny enough, you know, they had a similar story where they were long distance and, you know, she had to stay at a friend's place. So, you know, talking to people about it, especially when you want to do it the right way, helps. And talking to people who mean well for you in the church or in the body of Christ. Because advice from, you know, the body of Christ versus in the world is gonna look different. Trust me.
It's never the same.
It's never the same, you know. So I'm glad I spoke to the elder and his wife, and you know, they shared their testimony of how they try to make it work and do things the right way. And they spoke to my mom as well, and my mom, she spoke to a few pastors, you know, every pastor she knew, and let them know that I'm doing this and that she wants them to talk to me, and give me advice, and I give her absolutely. I would have done even more, maybe, you know, book my own ticket, you know. So I understand she was trying to do the right thing, and spoke to the pastors, and they gave me their advice. And so all this time I'm letting him know my side of the story. He's also making arrangements
on my side. Busy preparing for my arrival. And making sure everything is good.
And talking to my mom as well. So we wanted
and I started talking to your mom as well.
He started to talk to my mom regularly and like letting her know
just for her to know that, hey,
you know, take it easy. She's gonna be taken care of, you know, and all that. So I think actually one day I was coming from work and I still was looking for this passport.
Back to the passport.
And I decided to even fast about this passport because I'm like, okay,
where has it gone to?
What's holding it? Wherever it is, guys. I finished. I think I fasted for I think we're doing it that I fast with the church anyways, and then this was just part of the prayer point. And towards the end of the fast, I just told God I have to find this passport. Lo and behold, guys, where I found this passport, I think blindness had, you know, taken off my eyes because it was somewhere I could easily find. It was, you know, we had just moved, so there was a lot of boxes and stuff.
Boxes around, okay.
So it was one of those stuff, you know, and I was able to find it, able to get the ET and stuff. So there was a bit of resistance with that. But in all of that, even though there was some resistance, I must say that I still had the peace of God that, you know, I wasn't doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? So I think that's also that's worth mentioning because God speaks, you know, and if you involve him, what I learned from the experience is that he will let you know, you know, if you want him involved and you tell him that, Lord, I want you involved in the process. He's not going to back out on you. He's going to be there with you, and he wants to be part of it, which is very important. You know, we have our own logic ways to reason with things and assumptions, but ultimately God wants to be involved in every detail of our lives, right? So anyways, booked the ticket, was coming to see him. I think it was in July.
In July of 2017.
I had a friend who was just getting married, so after the wedding, we were going to, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. All right, so now we have purchased the plane ticket. We got the day, everything, July. July comes when 2017, when we're going to finally meet. We have been talking online this whole time, and honestly, I couldn't wait personally. And you guys,
same here. I actually couldn't wait because we've been talking on the phone, we've been video calling each other, and yeah, it just felt like we have to see each other now. This is the time we have to see each other if we want to make this serious, right? If we want to, like, take it the next level of friendship. So I felt like this was the right time for us to meet each other. And yeah, so when she was coming, I was excited. Yeah, I'm sure she was excited too. But yeah, I was super pumped up to finally meet her in person.
So I must mention before we continue, like, what really went down. Okay,
right.
We're spilling all of the tea, guys. All of the tea, and it's for a reason. Ultimately, we want you to learn from this.
Yeah, I mean, that's our experience, but we feel like when God is involved, there are certain things that stand out.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we want to also point out with this experience that we're sharing.
Okay, so now is the day that I'm leaving Arizona, flying to Canada. I'm going to Saskatchewan, where Dan was in Canada. And I had it wasn't a super early flight. I think it was like 9 a.m. or something, a 9 a.m. flight. But then, because it was an international flight, I have to mention that where I was taking the flight was like 2 hours drive away from my place.
Where you are,
yeah,
right.
Obviously you want to get the cheap ticket or whatever. Anyways, it was 2 hours away from where I was leaving. So I had to take a shuttle to the airport. So do the math. I have to be at the airport 3 hours before, and just to be safe, I made sure to that I was leaving the house like at least 4 hours, just in case anything happens.
4 hours prior.
Yes, wanted to be super safe. Okay, I have my mom's blessing. She's like telling me, call me, everything happened, call me, She sends me off. I go to the shuttle. I think she drops me off at the shuttle station and all that. I go to take the shuttle, and almost to the airport, which is, again, it's 2 hours away, almost to the airport, have this thought that crossed my mind that my passport, and guys, international flight, of course you need your passport, but I have to mention also, I hadn't taken an international flight for a long time. All the flights I had been taking up to this point were internal. Like, they were just
domestic flights.
They were not international. So it didn't occur to my mind that I will need my passport. This passport, I'm telling you. But this time, I didn't even want to see it. Anyway, so the thought crossed my mind, but I'm like, hey, God forbid, because I know I left the passport for whatever reason. How could I, it didn't make sense. Make it make sense. It didn't make sense. So I left my passport, guys. I knew I didn't have it. We're almost getting to the airport.
Oh no.
And so we get there, and I'm like praying that, Lord, I hope these people let me in without my passport. I just have my ID, my driver's license. And I go, I'm like, yeah. They're like, passport, please. I'm like, I have my ID, my driver's license. They're like, no, ma'am, we need to see your passport. Hey, started getting hot. I'm like, okay.
It wasn't funny then, right?
It was not funny. We're laughing now. It was not funny. So I'm like, oh, okay. Are you sure? Like, I can't go with my ID? They're like, ma'am, it's an international flight. You need your passport. I'm like, okay. So I had a picture of my passport in my phone. I'm like, I have the picture. Can you take it? They're like, no, we need to see it physically. Hey, now I am nervous. I'm like, I can't miss this flight. We've been counting down the time we're gonna see each other. We were so excited for this day. I was like, I'm not missing this flight.
Oh my God.
Immediately, I'm starting to think. I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you. I tell the flight or whatever, the lady at the desk, I'm gonna get back to you. So I go start making phone calls. I call my mom, like, hey, I don't have my passport. Like, you're kidding me? So I'm like, how can I get it there? And I call my brother. Everybody's at work, guys, or nobody. Like people have things to do.
Busy,
like
right,
it's
right.
the morning. People got things to do. So I was like, okay, who can I call? So I call one of my friends, and she finally said, she could come. Bless her heart. She said she could come.
Mind you, it's about
it's 2 hours away.
2 hours away from the airport. So
right.
Yeah.
So I was like, please, like, I will give you anything. Like, please, God bless you. Thank you. Please go get it from my house. My mom will have it ready for you and all of that stuff. She goes, gets my passport, and she starts to drive. I'm like, stay with her on the phone, try to keep her company, just
right.
I'll be there. And then the time is clicking, guys. Time is going. By the time, remember I've been trying to reach people and all that, like the 3-hour bracket was up, and now we're down to like almost less than an hour at this point. Like I was nervous. I think did I call you?
You did tell me about it at that time. So I was also like just praying that this friend will get it to her just in time so she can make it, right?
Praying. Hey, thank God, if you do this one thing for me. You know how you make all the promises and God delivers? Hey,
just so she doesn't miss her flight.
I'm like, look, I'm a college student. I don't have money like that. If I cancel this flight, maybe it might not happen, Budget tight, whatever. So I was like, this thing gotta happen, okay? Finally, she gets to the airport, and by this time that she's getting to the airport, the lady at the desk is like, ma'am, I gotta close the gate. I can't let you in. If you don't bring the passport in like 5 minutes. I'm like, I will get it to you. I'm pleading with her.
She's just here.
She's like, I'm like, she's here, And my friend was at the airport. She finally got there, and she kept missing the terminal. She missed it once. She missed it twice. I'm like, Lord, this felt like a drama series.
There should actually be a movie. It should be a movie scene.
We should have had a camera crew because I was hot.
She kept missing
it. And how in the airport, it was a huge airport. If like Sky Harbor, huge airport, like you have to go all the way around. If you miss the terminal, there's no U-turn. You have to go around the airport. So I was like, hey, Lord, please let her come through. So she, I think the third time she got it. Like, I was trying to stand outside to let her know. I'm also trying to tell the lady at the desk, like, she's here, please don't close the gate. So I go get the passport from my friend. I hug her, I'm like, Lord bless you, God bless you. I go to the desk and I give it to the lady, thank God, and she took it. It was a miracle. Woo! When I finally sat in that plane, hey, it felt different.
It's like, I've worked for this. This is the time. Now I can have my rest.
Hey, I was thanking God that it's finally here, and I was just thankful and praying.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What I get from this is that, like, times when God has something for you, like, the enemy tries to bring these obstacles. At times, like...
And that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes, like, okay, and that back then, like, I don't think I have a discernment like now, but looking back, like, I could have easily said, like, hey, or is this God trying to tell me that he's not the one for me, Is this a sign that God is trying to tell me? And that's where discernment comes in, right? But
at that time.
Yeah, at that time, but I always check with the Holy Spirit whether he's, like, giving me a go-ahead. And he was giving me a go-ahead. So it was kind of like, what was going through that time? I knew that it means that something else going on in the spirit,
Right.
Yeah, now looking back in retrospect, the enemy may have known, like, this is the will of God. Two Christian people coming together, definitely divinely orchestrated. It's the will of God.
Right.
God desires for us to come together in marriage, right? There's a scripture that says, like, how can two people come together unless they agree? And we have to be evenly yoked,
Correct.
And also to mention, because some young people don't know this, and for a lot of us, like some of us, were privileged to have mentors and people to tell us these things so that we don't make the mistake.
Correct.
So absolutely, if you're a Christian gal and you desire for the will of God to be done in your life, this is very important. That the person that you marry has to be a Christian like yourself. For some reason, God gave me this faith that, you know, it's gonna happen. Like, it's gonna work out. It's gonna be fine.
Right.
Anyway, so we're talking this whole time.
Yeah.
You know, I had a layover. Let him know.
Like how long?
Getting here now, and when I got there, he wasn't there yet. So I told him I'm here. He's like, okay, we're on our way. We'll see you there soon. Because I let him know like my arrival time and all that. So he was anticipating and all that.
Yeah, so I was just getting my people ready at that point as well. I had a few friends, very great friends who helped me, drive me to the airport, like, you know, get him her stuff. So yeah, we were doing all the background arrangements were being done, like, you know, just to get her comfortable when she comes in. So yeah, I make my way to the airport once she lets me know that she's arrived. And it wasn't too far, like from the city center where I live in Saskatchewan. It was 20 minutes drive, 15 minutes drive. So yeah, it wasn't much of a drive. So we headed to the airport and to go meet each other for the first time, finally. Right? So yeah, it was.
We were really like, man. Yeah. I had all these questions. I'm like, how does he smell? How does he walk? You know, because we've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, we've been talking for a long time right now. But
yeah, we have seen each other.
Different.
Yeah, but so we'll get there. Yeah. We'll get how like our first impression when we finally saw each other. But you know, we'd only seen each other on the phone. You know, and yeah, we were just wondering how we are in real life, in person. And so I was waiting for you by the entrance. Like I could see outside. I could see through the window.
I couldn't see her. I couldn't see her, but she could see me.
So I could see through the parking area, and then you finally arrived with your friends, and I could see you walking. I'm like, okay, that's how you walk, okay?
What do you mean?
I was taking notes, you know? Okay. You noticed everything.
At that time, yeah.
You've been waiting for so long, you noticed everything. So I was like, okay, that's how he walks. And then you finally go through the doors, and I was so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh. I hope he doesn't turn around when he sees
she looked so nervous. I was trying to calm her down. Like, she looked so nervous just when I saw her. You could just tell that she's nervous. But I kept telling her, hey,
I couldn't even make eye contact, guys. I would just glance at him and look away. Like, I was so nervous.
Oh my God.
It was unreal.
But yeah, so my first impression of her when I met her in person, like for the first time.
So we hugged each other.
We hugged each other, like obviously we hugged each other, like, hey, nice to meet you.
So welcome to Canada.
I told her, yeah, welcome to Canada. Wow, you remember everything. I was like, welcome to Canada, like, you know, and all that. And yeah, man, she was exactly the person I was talking to over the phone, and even more. Like in person, she had this beautiful personality. She looked so gorgeous. You know, like the glory of God was just radiating from her. Honestly, I think it was an over delivery. Her mannerisms, everything, like, you know, was just sweet. And yeah, it was very exciting and yeah, lovely.
And I would say the same too when I finally saw you. It was an over delivery as well. Like, there was just this something about you that, you know, it made me feel immediately like safe, that I was in good hands, that this felt right, you know? And just to say too, like, you know, when you're used to being disappointed in the past, maybe from like guys you talk to, and then you just, for him, I kept looking for red flags, but every time I get green flags, you know.
Wow.
I know, the first time I'm like, Lord, this is you're funny, you know.
I'm humbled by that.
Yeah,
wow.
I kept seeing like green flags, you know. So that's something else to that. So
so
after meeting at the airport, we head to the
friend's house, and she had a very, warm welcome. My friend had asked me privately, like, no, what kind of food does she eat? Does she have any allergies? Like, those kind of stuff. I was like, no, calm down. She's gonna eat everything. She worships with, like, the people of our culture as well. So she's okay. Like, just give her what you have. Like, okay, awesome. So how was your first day? And from there, like, what happened?
yeah, so it was great. You know, we had the food. It was a little. I remember there was some pepper in it, but
Spicy.
yeah, it was spicy. But like I said, it felt right with you. You know, just sitting next to you. I remember feeling, you know, safe and like this feels good. You know, and I was so grateful to God. I was like, okay. We even took a selfie. I think that selfie was prophetic. Like, you know, we took our selfie and I said, first selfie. I remember on my Snapchat. And I kept it. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
you know, there's something with God. You know, when you walk with Him, He just, you know, shows you, you do some things you think like it's, you know,
it's just your
own intuition,
your
but
own
it's God
thoughts.
like just directing you. Anyway, so after that first day, I think the next day we had plans. So we had an itinerary for the visit.
Just
like
before
it was
that,
for just a week.
so prior to her coming, I had made this itinerary, and also
Yeah.
because I was a student, remember, I was still doing my masters, and though it was vacation for other people, it wasn't vacation for me. I was still doing my research, so I had to make up this itinerary where we were going to exciting places as well. I mean, around like, you know, sightseeing, like, and all of that. So yeah, I had this itinerary, and we took those, like, you know, days one by one, like one day at a time, going to different places. And I think it was during that time that we actually like bonded more in person.
Right.
And yeah, mind you, at this time we are still friends. Like,
he still friend zoned me all this time. He hadn't made any suggestion. I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna date you. He didn't tell me.
We are still friends.
He didn't ask me out.
Guys, relax. Yeah, but
But he was very. The one thing I would say that obviously I knew there was something more he wanted. He was very persistent, and he made sure that I knew it was me that he was interested in, without saying it. You know, it was like more of. He was more of action. He would always text me first thing in the morning. You know, call me and. You know, and even while we were there, he made sure I was comfortable. He made sure that, you know, I was taken care of. You know, he really took care of me.
Wow.
So yeah. So during the next day, like you had.
I usually went to school in the mornings. I went to do my research, whatever I had to do during the day, and I think late afternoon towards an evening, we just go hang out. At times we just ask. At times with some friends. Just
mostly us.
Mostly us, but like
go sightseeing or somewhere.
I think we went bowling with my friends.
Oh yeah. That was the time we went bowling.
Like just to like, you know, familiarize ourselves more, get to know each other better. I think it was a great time, and I think
we had a great time.
It wasn't until the last day.
Not the day, but I think the day before the last day.
Okay.
Yeah. So the day before the last day that I left. He finally asked me out officially.
Officially, I was like, hey, I think, you know, we met each other now, and we can take this a notch higher, you know. So I think she was expecting that question way before, but I just had to take my time.
I was like, finally.
I just had to take my time, you know, because I wanted to be sure about this whole thing, you know, dating right and doing it the right way. So I asked her out, and yeah, she accepted it. So we took it a notch higher. We started dating from there. And but it won't be long after this. She has to still go back, you know, though we are dating long distance. She has to go back to.
And that's one thing I was like, God, why? You know, I was really asking God why he had to be in Canada. Why not in the United States? Why didn't you let him have a scholarship in the United States where I was?
Good question.
In Arizona, or I don't know, even somewhere closer, you know. But God, I think now in retrospect, looking back, you know, God divinely put things exactly where they should be, because he sees things, you know, in the end, you know, he knows the end. From
he knows the end from the beginning. He sees
it's not like us, like being in the moment, we just seeing through a keyhole, or like a keyhole, you know.
Right. And I think looking back, you can tell that there was a purpose of us being in Canada, like me having to come to Canada, like, you know, the people who have come into our lives, the people God has used, like, you know, to impact our lives. We also impacting, or like, you know, helping others in Canada. I think it's just mind-blowing. So it's looking back, we said that it's just the will of God. It was just God's plan that, like, I be in Canada while she is in the States. It wasn't an ideal situation, but God had a greater purpose in all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's a story for another day.
You're
But
right,
yeah,
because we went from US and Canada, US, but it's like every season it was exactly where we were supposed to be. Even though in that moment sometimes we're like,
sometimes we question why are we here?
Like this?
At times,
we preferred it
correct.
to be this way. But then, the thing with God is you have to just trust Him and obey, right? He might not reveal everything to you at that time.
He doesn't do that.
Yes, but He just requires us to trust Him and
trust and obedience
and obey with
obedience.
Obey His words. So I had to go back the next day. Now it's official, we're dating. So
and I had to send it off at the airport. Following day, I was so sad.
Yeah, we're both so sad. We had fun, and that's another thing. Like with Christian dating, we're trying to do things the right way, obviously, according to the will of God. It was clear on our boundaries and stuff like that. Like, we didn't want to, for example, have sex before marriage. So it was good to finally have a guy that understands. As a lady, you know what I mean. Having a guy that understands. I know, some guys will tell them that, I'm sorry, this is where I stand, and they're like, it's not fair, or like they will say something that is like
they'll trap you.
That would, make you feel bad for your decision. But what I've learned too is that God rewards you when you stand for Him and when you stand for His word,
Right.
And stand your ground, girl. Stand it, and not to say that we're sticks and stones, we don't feel anything. We do feel, but it's not always easy choosing the right thing to do or God's way, as a matter of fact. So
that's great. And I think, it was a great time. And now we have to say our goodbyes. We headed to the airport.
I went back to Arizona, back to my life. Was going back to school. And,
I was still in school, but just that, like, seeing her leave, I was sad.
Yeah.
But I had to get back to my studies quickly. So after that time, we kept talking more, like, checking on each other every day. What else? We couldn't do things like,
and that's another thing about
dating,
long distance.
It's not easy. Trust me.
I kept asking God, like, why you let me date long distance, and I actually didn't want to.
It's not an easy.
I preferably if you
easy
I
form of
want him
relationship.
where I was, so that I could see him if I needed a hug. But at the same time, I was like, God, help me to stay, in your will and all that. So anyway, I think now we're glad it was long distance. I think it would have been difficult. But we did it for long distance. We went back to our life. So sorry about the long distance. So, it was like we wanted to see each other a lot of times and we couldn't because of the distance. Like going out on dates and stuff like that, we just couldn't. But we tried to make it work. We tried to like watch movies
online. I think there was this
Netflix party or something.
That you could watch as a group, or as two or more people.
Two of us,
so we did that.
Do it, anonymously. We spoke every day.
I think we did well to stay in touch every day.
Video calling, very important. Because that's definitely what kept us going, and the grace of God, obviously. But
there was one thing that we missed. Anyway, we'll drop the tea later. Fast forward. We have been dating, talking. Like everything was going rosy. Like I was all the fun. This part is not a fun bit, but
we have to bring it up because
we need to bring it up.
It's not our story alone. It's also for you guys to learn from it and to put out there that you want to be happy, but there's somebody who doesn't want to be happy for you. That's the enemy. Satan doesn't want us, especially when you're in the will of God. He doesn't want you to enjoy what God has for you, the blessings. And it's a lot of tea, guys. It's too heavy to keep it in this video, so we'll have to share it in the next video for you guys. Unfortunately, we broke up.